Dr. Dardery.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. I would like to say today I am Syrian today. I stand with the people of Syria in their struggle for their freedom and for their justice. I am Palestinian today. I am from Bangladesh today. I am a Muslim today. I am a human being crying for justice. I'm crying for fairness. I'm crying for freedom, equality, and the rule of law. I am honored to give this stage a chance to speak with you. I would like, before I start, I would like to thank Islamic Circle of North America and the Muslim American Society for giving these sessions so that we, as Muslim Americans, or American Muslims, understand what's going on in the world and also work together so that we bring justice, freedom, and rule of law to ourselves and to the rest of the world. This is the mission of each and every Muslim. I don't want you to be upset from my Syrian brothers of what he said. You know, when your father is killed, your mom is raped, and your children are in prison, it draws a gloomy picture. But I would like to tell you, لا تهنوا ولا تحزنوا وأنتم الأعلون إن كنتم مؤمنين. Never get weak, never get depressed. You will be victorious. Believe that you're working for what is right, and you're willing to pay the price, even if it is a heavy price, for your own justice, for your own freedom. No country on the face of the earth has been able to achieve freedom, justice, and rule of law without paying the price for it. Look at the country we're living in, America. Why are we here? Why can't we hold these meetings? Because Americans paid a heavy price for their own freedom. Remember what they used to say in the old days. It's very similar to what Syrians are saying nowadays. In the past, Americans used to say, give me liberty or give me death. And Syrians are saying the same thing. الموت ولا المذلة. It's the human journey. And the title of my presentation today, it is the human journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Dr. Adil, Dr. Khalid, each and every one of you, thank you for being here. Dr. Adil started his presentation about talking about the Ummah. The Ummah. Allow me to talk with you about the individual, about you and me. The Ummah is a big thing. It's very important to keep the Ummah vision while talking about the individual. Know one fact, that each one of us is born afraid. You're born afraid, I am born afraid. The systems around you try to suppress you, colonize you, or enslave you. Your journey in life is to liberate yourself. Hopefully we get this right. You're born afraid. Allah gives you this freedom. It is a God-given. متى استعبدتم الناس وقد ولدتهم أمهاتهم أحرارا. How dare you enslave people when their mothers gave them birth while they're free. We're all born free. Don't believe that some of us are born slaves, or colonized, or suppressed, or oppressed. But what happens, the systems around us try to suppress us, try to colonize us. And your journey in this life is to resist oppression, resist suppression, resist all forms that need to take you away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or take you from the real freedom. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the choice to believe or not to believe. مَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. That's a fact. You have the right to believe in God or not to believe in God. But never forget that you're a human being. And when human beings come together, they create a system. Always make sure that this system that is being created by human beings is a fair system. Is a system based on justice, fairness, equality. Human beings, because of weakness, because of fear, because of ignorance, try to control other human beings. And this is what creates oppression. What is your role? What is your role? Your role is to resist the oppression and bring fairness back. So hopefully this principle, this theory, excuse me, this theory is very clear in each one's mind. Now, I'll take you to the Egyptian case. Do we agree? There is a lot of hope. Don't lose hope. Young Egyptians are saying we're gonna frustrate frustration. Never lose hope. Always keep your smile. Resistance requires you to have a strong faith. You lose it, you lose a lot. Never lose faith. Never despair. وَلَا تَقْنَطُوا مِنْ رَحْمَةِ اللَّهِ. Never lose faith. The oppressors will be happy when you lose faith. Will be happy when you lose the ability to resist. And you need to be you need to be able to say, I will never submit to oppression. I will always resist. And resistance has many ways and means. I would like to share it with you at the end of the presentation. I would really like to have some time for dialogue, for question and answer. And I like the questions being written. I would like, if possible, if the organizing committee can make available some exchange, interaction among us. The story of Egypt is not very different from the story of Muslims or of many other people in many different parts of the world. It is very simply can be explained as a story of people who want to be free. It's very simple story. They're created free and they're born into oppressive systems, and now they would like to liberate themselves and live free, live in a democracy, enjoy freedom, enjoy equality, enjoy the rule of law. That's very simple explanation of the story of Egypt. I'm not going to go back in history only just 200 years ago. When the a military general by the name of Muhammad Ali took over, and this is the beginning of the nation state. First time a nation state comes. You know, in the Muslim world there was a caliphate, and then after that they were divided into small nation states. Like the Arab countries, 22 some Arab countries. They were one country. You would be born in Cairo, and you get married from Syria, get a job in Iraq, and maybe you die in Morocco. There were no passports, there were no borders. You would take your camel. At that time there were no cars or aeroplanes. You would take any means of transportation and they travel, keep traveling. Like Ibn Battuta used to go around this whole part. The oppressors came to this part and divided it into small. Egypt was divided, or Egypt was colonized into small entity. The rulers became very oppressive. The people of Egypt tried many times to liberate themselves from this oppression. They tried during Ahmad Arabi, for those who are aware of the Egyptian history. And then they tried again during Sa'd al-Zaghlul. Until 1952, the Egyptian military was able to get off the feudal old system. But what it did, it was supposed to present a democracy. Because the only solution to the problem of Syria, Palestine, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Egypt, the rest of the world is democracy, where equality is the way to go. Where we're all equal. There is transparency, there is accountability, and this is the only alternative, because democracy can help us solve our differences in a peaceful way. Not through killing one another, but through negotiating with one another, through presenting better alternatives with one another. But the story in Egypt, a military came, controlled the people, and controlled everything. This stayed 60 years, 6 decades. Egyptians were fed up. They decided to go to the streets. They went to the streets asking for freedom. They asked, we want 4 things. Economic prosperity, freedom, social justice, and human dignity. Let's start again. Economic prosperity. In Egypt, we have a very bad economy. It is the economy of the 5%. The 5% have everything. The rest of the people, and there is 15% in between the 5%, excuse me, and the rest of the people. There is no economic prosperity. You go to Egypt, the educational system is bad, the medical services are bad, transportation, it's just bad economy. Freedom. There was no freedom in Egypt. I used to work as a university professor. I could not even present a critical understanding of what's going on in the country. Criticism is taboo. If you criticize the government, if you hold, nowadays, if you hold something like this, the 4 fingers of Rab'a that represents resistance and freedom, you may be interrogated and you may end up in jail. That was the old days, and unfortunately coming now, and I'm coming to this to explain. So economic prosperity. There was no economic prosperity in the country. I knew people who were my neighbors. They would live the whole month, the whole 30 days, on 500 Egyptian pounds, which is less than $100. A teacher will make 500 Egyptian pounds for the whole month. How do you expect a teacher to be able to teach and research and study for 500 Egyptian pounds? Number 2, freedom. There was no freedom, neither freedom of speech, freedom of movement, freedom of assembly. Number 3, social justice. You know that in Egypt, we have billionaires, literally billionaires. But at the same time, we have people, when the night comes, they go to the graveyards to sleep the rest of the night. There are people in Egypt who are billionaires, and there are homeless people in the country. You have lots of street children. That was his recipe for a disaster. The last important principle of the Egyptian January 25th revolution was human dignity. Egyptians didn't have it. Egyptians were fearful. They had a lot of fear. That's why we developed a saying, walls have ears. الحيطان لها ودان. We didn't trust one another because of the police state. Egyptians went in the streets and they called for one thing, bringing down the whole system of oppression. But what happened? It was the head of the system that came down. The rest of the system, and by the system I mean 5 things. The military, corrupt police, corrupt judiciary, corrupt media, and corrupt business community. Those were the organs of the systems. Egyptians decided to fix the problem and reform the system in a gradual and legal way. And we were fine. We were taking steps in the right direction. We were learning also. Of course we made mistakes. How cannot make mistakes in a transition? When you have everyone of the old regime is working against you, and you, as a representative of the new regime, trying your best to present a better alternative. But to the unpleasant surprise of everyone, I want you to remember that day, July 3rd. The corrupt leaders of the Egyptian military decided to move against the democratic process in Egypt and committed 5 crimes. Number 1, kidnapped the first democratically elected president in the history of Egypt. Kidnapped him and took him as a hostage. Number 2, suspended the constitution that was approved by 67% of the Egyptian people who went for the referendum. Number 3, dissolved an elected body, the parliament, the upper house of the parliament. Number 4, the Egyptian military on August 13, in 9 hours, killed thousands of peaceful protesters. The Egyptian military killed thousands in 9 hours of peaceful protesters who were gathering around Mosque of Rab'a. And that sign means Mosque of Rab'a. Rab'a is the name of a woman who was an orphan, who lived very difficult life, but she became highly spiritual and connected to God. A mosque was named after her. People gathered around the mosque to resist oppression, to resist injustice, to resist the kidnapping of the president, the dissolving of the parliament, the suspension of the constitution. They were killed. First time ever, wounded people came to be burned alive by the Egyptian army. First time ever, families could not even know their loved ones. It's a crime against Egyptians, and because Egyptians are human beings, it's a crime against humanity. And the 5th thing is imprisoning thousands of people. I'd like to stop here for a minute. Now we all understand what does this sign mean. It's a sign of love. It's a sign of resistance. It's a sign of justice. We will continue holding this sign. I believe in liberty. I believe in freedom. If you don't want to stand up, please don't. But if you would like to support the freedom, justice, democracy in Egypt, please stand up and send this message to the people of Egypt and look to the camera. Let them know that the rest of the world is not going to be silent. The rest of the world will never be silent about people being oppressed, being killed, because they're saying, we want justice, we want the freedom, we want equality, we want the rule of law. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your support. What do we do from here? Thank you. Please sit down. What do we do? I know I received some questions. Where do we go from here? First, we need to develop an understanding. What went wrong? Some are trying to say, oh, but President Morsi made mistakes. Of course he did. But when I make mistake, if I'm elected, you don't imprison me. You vote me out in an election. You don't put me in jail. You don't kill me because I disagree with you politically. You don't imprison people, elected members, the head of the parliament is in prison. So many members, like me, I was elected by hundreds of votes, hundreds of thousands of votes. I was elected as a member of parliament. Why on earth do members of parliaments in Egypt get in prison? Why? What did they do? I'm asking the world. What did they do? They have a political perspective. We don't, please, if you don't want to elect me again, don't. But don't kill me. I'm your brother. I am Egyptian, like you. And that is the challenge. We need to come to this understanding that what went on July 3rd is a crime against the Egyptian people. And to the surprise of everyone, just the coup government, the government that killed the people, are coming out calling the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization. What a shame. You kill people and then you call the peaceful protesters terrorists? Who are the terrorists? President Morsi did not kill one Egyptian. President Morsi did not imprison one Egyptian. Look at what the military called. My brothers and my sisters, I'm not defending President Morsi here. And I'm not in an election campaign. No, I am defending the right of each and every Egyptian. All Egyptians are equal. I don't care if they're Muslims, Christians, liberals, leftists, they're all Egyptians. And they all have the right to vote, and they all have the right to be voted in and voted out. That's what we need as Egyptians. That's what we need as Arabs. That's what we need as Muslims. Excuse me. This is what we need as human beings, is to be able to live in a democracy, is to be able to have fairness, justice, equality, and rule of law. I was invited, thank you. I was invited, President Dr. Saad al-Katatni, the head of the Egyptian parliament and the head of the Freedom and Justice Party. I forgot to mention when the coup government describes the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization, the coup government insults the Egyptian people. Because the Egyptian people elected the Muslim Brotherhood 5 times in the past 3 years. Number 2, the Egyptian government insults Islam itself. When you have the largest organization in Egypt, and you describe it as a terrorist, you're sending a message to the outside world that Islam produces terrorism. That is not right. We're peaceful. We love the world. We've been elected by the people of Egypt, and we're willing to stand again for election. And again, if we win, we will serve the Egyptian people honorably. And if we lose, we will serve the Egyptian people. Not necessarily when you are elected, you can only serve, you can always serve, excuse me, on many different fronts. I was invited by the Malaysian government to represent Dr. Saad al-Katatni because he is in jail now. I went there and I spoke in front of 42 countries. People were surprised. They were shocked that this is what happened in Egypt. And this is why the world is not talking about it. Why the European media and the American media is not talking about violations of human rights, the sabotage of democracy in Egypt, the end of the rule of law, the end of the democratic process, and terrorism of the state, of the coup government. Why is the world not talking about this? I'm coming to you here today so that you can talk about it. Please, understand what is going on in Egypt. Share it with so many other people. I went to South Africa when President Mandela passed away. I went with 2 messages from President Morsi. The first message was to the family of Mandela, and the second message was to President of South Africa. In South Africa, I learned a couple of things. Number 1, they told me, never accept the coup government. This coup has to come to an end. Better today than next day. Number two, they said never negotiate with the military coup before all political prisoners are out. Number three, there were so many people got killed. As an Egyptian, I have the right to ask who killed them. I need those who killed the Egyptians in the streets of Egypt to be brought to justice. Number four, they told us also that the military has to go back to its barracks. Once the military intervenes in politics, it corrupts politics and it corrupts the military. We want freedom. And we're determined to work for freedom for all Egyptians, for justice for all Egyptians, for human rights for all Egyptians. We're willing to work together. Inclusiveness is a necessity. Include everyone on the table so that we can build Egypt together. I call upon you, all of you, to understand the situation in Egypt, to spread the word about the situation in Egypt, and to help us by spreading the word. We have not yet had any refugee problem like our brothers and sisters in Syria, like the Palestinians. And hopefully we don't. We really don't want this to continue. We really want an end to this peacefully. We really want to go back to the democratic process. I would love if you can call your congressman or senator and tell them that democracy has to go back in Egypt. There is no solution for the problem of Egypt unless it is served by democracy, because democracy helps us all to develop better alternatives. I don't know, there are many questions for the organizing. What do you suggest? You want me to go over them so quickly?
I was told because of the Maghrib prayer is at 5:40, we need to end at 5:35 so that people can go to the...
So what do you think? What is the time in Europe now?
I think,
3 minutes? 3 minutes. I will end in 3 minutes, okay? I will go quickly. Very good question. ما هي رؤية الإخوان المسلمين بالنسبة للمخرج من الأزمة الحالية في مصر؟ أرجو الإجابة بشكل محدد وليس بشكل عام. What I suggest, I would like to keep these questions. Is there a place where we can meet after Maghrib and Isha?
Our booth.
If there is a booth, how about if we have a coffee or a tea or a conversation around the booth there, if you really want some of these questions. But what Ikhwan Muslimin, or what freedom, I like to speak on behalf of the Freedom and Justice Party. What the Freedom and Justice Party presents as an alternative. The coup has to be broken. The coup is dangerous for all Egyptians. I really wonder about any Egyptian, unless that Egyptian has a vested interest in oppressing the Egyptian people. Other than that, no Egyptian should support dictatorship. The coup has to be broken. Democracy has to be back. If anyone committed a crime against Egyptian people, anyone, and I don't care whether President Morsi or anyone else committed a crime against the Egyptian people, they need to be brought to justice. Anyone, the military or otherwise. And then we move on democracy. There is no a better solution than the democratic process. Then we can talk about the details. There are lots of details. Allahu Akbar, Allah. As a young Muslim teenager, what should I do to help? As a young teenager, first understand the nature of the problem. Second is make your other teenager understand the situation. I would like to call upon all the teenager college students here in this city. Please try to meet together, exchange ideas with one another. In your school or your university, share this with others. You can pick up a phone and call your representative. You can also call the media. You can call the newspapers. You can call anyone to make them understand what is going on. And I would love to meet with you in another if the organizers allow us to do so. Do you still believe in democracy? Yes. There is no other way other than democracy. And we will continue. Our strategy is peacefulness. we will continue peacefully resisting the oppression. I think it is time for Salah, and let me not keep you any longer. Thank you. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.